You are in time for the latest updates. This is the Lunchtime News. My name is Irene Mchuma Odem. On sign language interpretation, we have Susan Thuku. It is the second day in the month of May 2023, the day the anti-government protests resumed. We have our able teams on the ground. We'll be giving you the situation as events unfold. Let's interact on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. Our top focus this afternoon: police lobbed tear gas and dispersed a mob that descended on and vandalized the property of embattled preacher Paul Mackenzie in Malindi Town, Kilifi County. The irate residents stormed the church premises at around 7 p.m. on Monday and brought down the perimeter wall and the gate to Mackenzie's former church premises.
Hii hasira ya watu wenye wako nao kwa sababu ya watu wao wamekufia huko Shakahola, tumepeleka mahali paka nyumba hii fence ya Mackenzie imebomolewa namna hiyo. Hizo ni hasira zote watu wako nazo. Na angalia fence venye imepelekwa, hatujui angepatikana mwenyewe ingekuaje. Unaona? Kwa hivyo serikali hii kitu jaribu kuwa makini. Sasa hii hao watu wako na hasira wanatafuta huyo mtu. Unaona? Kwa hivyo hasira za watu zimepeleka watu vibaya. Na angepatikana hii maeneo hatujui ingekuaje.
Hii kisi kitendo ambacho kinastahili kuendelea sasa hivi. Tuache mkono wa sheria, tufuate sheria mpaka mwisho ili tukaweze kupata justice kama community na tukaweze kupata justice kwa wale victims wote ambao ile kesi yao inaendelea.
All right, the anti-government demonstrations resumed today after a month's break, and our main focus is in the city, the capital, Nairobi. This is because Azimio said that they intend to march into the central business district. My colleague Yusuf Farah is on that bit. Farah, good afternoon.
Indeed, a very good afternoon to you, Irene Mchuma Odem, back there at the broadcasting house. We're coming to you live from the Mwindi Mbingu Street right here in the CBD of Nairobi. Now, we've been able to move around a few places, namely City Hallway, Kimathi Street, Moi Avenue, Kigali Road, Banda Street, Kenyatta Avenue, and finally here at Mwindi Mbingu Street, just trying to monitor the situation with whatever is going on right now. And what I can report to you, Mchuma, is that a number of shops have been opened. Not that many of shops have been closed as opposed to previous times when we had anti-government protests. So we've been able to monitor the situation, seeing a few shops open, a few closed. Like right now, perhaps if my camera lady can just pan and show the situation. There is a market here, a shop that has been closed, just a representation of one of the few that we have seen closed today. Of course, you see border riders going on about their businesses, but apart from this, in other previous times when you've had anti-government protests, Mchuma, you see that many times shops are closed. Many times shopkeepers talking about business not going on so well for them. But contrary to that, today traffic is seemingly normal, apart from City Hallway, which was seemingly deserted when we went there, and not that much of traffic was there to be seen. But the street here, traffic is moving on smoothly. There is not much of activities as far as anything that would cause an insecurity matter is concerned. And of course, we've been able to see the presence of security officers just trying to make sure that if there is any incident that does occur, then it will be handled by the most precise manner. So of course, we'll keep tabs on the issues, we'll keep roaming around the CBD, and we'll be able to bring this story to our viewers. Back to you, Mchuma.
All right, thank you, Yusuf Farah. Yusuf Farah giving us an update from the Central Business District in the county of Nairobi after the Azimio leaders said that on this day, as they resume demos, they will march into the Central Business District. And it's not only Farah who is on the ground. We have our reporters nationally and also still in the capital. We have Khalid Abdullahi and Nancy Okware. We'll be linking up with them later on in this bulletin. Now back to Kilifi County, televangelist Ezekiel Odero is set to appear at the Shanzu Law Courts this afternoon for a ruling on his bail application. Ezekiel was arrested and detained last Thursday over claims of fraud, money laundering and murder, among others. His followers are in the meantime camping outside the Shanzu Law Courts demanding his release.
Praise and worship songs rented the air outside Shanzu Law Courts as followers of televangelist Ezekiel Odero awaited the application ruling. Heavy police presence witnessed outside the Shanzu Law Courts in Mombasa County. Around 9 a.m., the televangelist lawyers led by Danstan Omar made their way to the courts where they addressed the media, informing them that the ruling will be at 2 p.m. and not 11 a.m. as anticipated.
Maamuzi ama rulings na majudgment huwa zinapeanwa mwendo wa afternoon. Kwa hivyo hakuna kitu chochote ambacho sio cha kawaida. Hiyo ni kawaida. Kwa hivyo tumekuja kama mawakili kujulisha wale wafuasi walioko hapa kwamba maamuzi ya kesi ya Pastor Ezekiel itakuwa mwendo wa saa 8.
In the same breath, the lawyers disclosed that they had filed a renewed application to oppose the state's plan to hold the pastor for 30 days.
Regarding even one single body, one, not even two, please come forward. Go to the nearest station and register that complaint. Because right now, there is nothing of that kind of evidence that has been brought to this court. They made a statement and said, oh, he's going to be charged for murder and all that. Even if that is the case, it still must be evidence.
The lawyers still remain adamant that their client is innocent and the allegations against him are merely hot air.
We cannot have people being brought into court and being kept and people asking for time to keep them in custody for no reason at all. Pastor is not involved in politics. He is not interested in politics. Yes. He has never been interested in politics. And the simple thing he's saying is, release me so that I can go to my flock. Release me so that I can go to my people. My people are thirsting for the word of God.
We hope also today the church will be ordered opened. Amen. So that the congregation will have a place.
To ensure that peace prevails at this particular area. Remember that the Azimio demonstrations are taking place at a time when the Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga spoke yesterday saying that they will ensure that the demonstrations are going to be peaceful and that no property will be destroyed. That is an assurance that he issued yesterday, and of course he urged the protesters to conduct the demos in a peaceful manner that will ensure no property is destroyed. The demos are also coming against the backdrop of a tough warning from the Nairobi Regional Police Commander, that is Adamson Bungei, who cautioned Azimio la Umoja against going ahead with the demonstrations over what he termed as lack of goodwill in the previous demos that they have witnessed. So right now we will be moving to a number of areas just to see how the situation is unfolding as the day goes by. But from this beside Southern Bypass. It is just the truck that is currently the firefighters are trying to salvage whatever they can. And of course, we'll be giving our viewers more updates from this location and of course from other parts of the county. For now, it's back to you in studio, Irene Muchuma.
Thank you, Okware. Nancy Okware giving us an update from the Southern Bypass. As the anti-government protest resumed after they took a break for about a month. We also have Khalid Abdullahi, who is expected to bring us the latest updates in this bulletin. But to other concerns, residents of Antubetwe, Kiongo Ward in Igembe North are calling on the government to rid them of bandits raining terror in the region. Their calls come days after the suspected cattle rustlers killed an area politician. The locals are calling for better coordination between security agencies working in the area to stem the runaway insecurity. They called on the Interior Cabinet Secretary to visit the region and lay the ground for long-lasting solutions to the perennial problem.
Wale wamepoteza maisha sababu ya wizi wa ng'ombe. Sasa ile ng'ombe imebaki na kiangazi, wakati ya kiangazi. Hakuna sasa ng'ombe tunabaki nayo sababu kila siku ng'ombe inaenda, kila siku mbuzi inaenda. Na kama wakati hata mheshimiwa aliuawa, walikuwa na maafisa wa serikali, lakini akauawa akiwa peke yake.
Hawa vijana ambao wanafanya hivyo tunawajua na tunawatafuta, tunawafahamu, hata ingawa wanatoroka wakiingia msituni, lakini tunataka kuhakikisha kwamba tumewaingiza katika mkono wa serikali.
Tunahitaji police station hapa, hii Nangari ya patrol ya area Doleli division, ndio security iwe sawa.
In division yetu aswa ya Doleli hatuna hata gari ya serikali ili inaweza kutusaidia wakati tunapata sinda. Wewe tungeomba hata tupewe gari na askari tuongezewe sababu ile security tuko nayo ni hapa sana.
Several shops have been broken into over the weekend in Maralal Town, Samburu County, as thieves took advantage of a 3-day blackout that was caused by floods in Tingamara. The victims lamented that they had lost thousands of items to the theft and are now appealing to the authorities to take the culprits and bring them to book.
The whole weekend kulikuwa na blackout ambayo ili contribute kwa hii wizi. Tena naona security ya hii town imekuwa chini kwa sababu sio mimi tu kwangu kulivunjwa. Leo ni kwangu, kesho ni kwa mwingine. Shida ya street lights. Hakuna street lights kwa hii town yetu. It's total blackout. Mwizi ana take advantage of the blackout, ana maneuver, anaingia hapa, anaiba.
Mvua tukinyesha kidogo inapotea. So hatujui shida ya Kenya Power ama ni wafanyakazi ndio wachache, na tuko na vijana wengi wamesoma, wangeongeza wafanyakazi. Na kama pia ni shida pia ya communication, kuwa na communication, maana stima kwenda zaidi.
Sasa hapa siku 3, just imagine kazi kama hii yangu ama kazi zingine ya serikali au ya mtu binafsi, huwezi fanya hiyo kazi bila stima.
Hii ni shida kwa sababu watoto watakosa kusoma, inakuwa giza, town inakuwa giza na tumesoea, so hatujui ni nini imefanyika.
Residents of Kilifi and Taita Taveta counties have benefited from free medical camps organized by a non-governmental organization and the Kenya Ports Authority. In Kilifi County, more than 600 residents of Kibarani area received medication and treatment from Direct Aid, which had organized a 3-day medical camp in the area. In Taita Taveta County, the camp, which was held in Mwakinyungu Primary School, saw more than 800 patients from Msau, Rongeju, Mlechi, Kitombo and Wundanyi benefit from free services of diagnosis and treatment, laboratory services, dental services and eye checkup, among other services.
Tumekuwa tunatatua tatizo ambalo tumelirithi la deni ya wahudumu wa kulete dawa ambao huwa ni partners na serikali, KEMSA, shirika ambalo liko charged. Lakini hata hivyo KEMSA yenyewe si ni kama duka. Sasa unaweza enda dukani unataka kununua kifaa fulani na hutapata. Kwa hivyo hiyo ndio saa nyingine inakuwa tatizo. The order we place, we don't get 100% of the order we have placed. Kwa sababu sio ati pesa hazijakuwa za kulipia, maana tuko na mapatano mazuri. Kwa sababu hiyo supply hawana. Na vifaa ambavyo tumepata ambapo hutaviona kwa kaunti zingine. Lakini kaunti ya Taita Taveta tumevipata hivyo. Ninaomba wamama wote wako katika reproductive age na wale pia hata wamemaliza uzazi, tafadhali fikeni hospitali mfanyiwe screening mapema.
Ya tulifanya sehemu mbalimbali, ni Fumbini na pia Kibarani tulifanya last year na Kololeni. Lakini saa mwaka huu tumeanza na Kiwapa na tutaendelea katika sehemu zingine Vitongeuji na mji katika ngine pia tutaifanya.
Tourism, Wildlife and National Heritage Cabinet Secretary Penina Malonza has announced plans by the government to translocate rhinos to selected wildlife conservancies. Malonza says the exercise will be carried out under strict directives to the respective conservancies to ensure the protection of the rhinos. The ministry will also be looking to avoid the tragedy that occurred in 2018 in which 9 rhinos died after translocation.
We cannot afford to lose our wildlife through drought and climate change, and again we lose them in the hands of conservancies. No. And I was very happy when he said he's going to do a committal letter. I said I'm so happy now another branch of government is in it. So this thing will work very well. And so I want to let you know that you have my commitment. The translocation is going to start very soon.
A section of legislators from the Western region are now calling upon the Treasury to release the money to different county governments. This move comes days after the Council of Governors issued a 14-day notice to the National Treasury to immediately release more than 94 billion shillings owed to counties, failure to which they would shut down counties. Led by Lurambi constituency legislators, Titus Kamala, the members of parliament have faulted the delay in disbursing the funds, saying that it is interfering with service delivery in the devolved units.
Difficult for you giving us services that you owe us. It's not a favor. So Treasury should wake up, release money to the county government, release money to the Constituency Development Fund, and all other agencies, because Kera needs money, Kura needs money, Kenya needs money.
And alcoholic beverage manufacturers and retailers have said the high taxes imposed by the government on the industry are some of the greatest impediments to the fight against second-generation brew. Alcoholic Beverages Association of Kenya Chairman Eric Githua says the war against second-generation alcoholic drinks and illicit brew cannot be won unless the government revises taxes imposed on genuine liquor manufacturers.
We need to collaborate and partner with the government agencies, because it's through such partnerships that we can be able to eradicate illicit alcohol trade and be able to ensure that alcohol is sold in a manner that is sustainable. And we also try to reduce the unfortunate levels that we've seen in Embu, because illicit alcohol unfortunately kills people.
Some of us, we don't even know the manufacturers, the registered manufacturers, so that we can be able to remove those who are manufacturing illegally.
Within the next 1 week, we are going to get a list of all the authorized manufacturers of alcohol in Kenya from NACADA and from the Kenya Bureau of Standards, so that when we go out to do the crackdown, we are sure that the brands we are targeting are the brands which are recognized in Kenya.
Kenya is losing approximately 10.5 billion shillings annually through non-revenue water sanitation and irrigation Principal Secretary Paul Kiprono, who flagged off 10 vehicles for the Water Police Unit at Maji House, noted that the 9 selected agencies that will work with the units will be equipped with sophisticated technology modified to capture illegal water connections and invisible leakages in order to address the loophole.
This infrastructure is spread across the dams, the pipelines, the metering, and also the water pans, which we see as critical as we construct the mini water storage to provide the required water demand for the country.
Because if it is spread all over the country, it means all our catchment areas will be protected, and at the same time, vandalism will be protected.
Rift Valley Institute of Science and Technology has won a gold medal in Sustainable Development Goals category in the Excellence Awards organized by the World Federation of Colleges and Polytechnics. The awards recognize institutions and individuals' exceptional initiatives in strengthening applied learning and research outcomes, as well as remarkable contributions to skills development. Its principal, Sami Chemoiwo, was awarded a gold medal in leadership in diversity and inclusion category, while his immediate predecessor, Dr. Daniel Mutai, was fitted with a silver medal in the Lifetime Achievement Award category at the 6th edition of the World Federation of Colleges and Polytechnics 2023 TVET Excellence for All Awards held in Montreal, Canada. Nairobi Technical Training Institute won a bronze medal in Applied Research and Innovation Awards, while Kenya Technical Trainers College also won a bronze medal in Teacher Professional Development Award.
Recently, we were nominated by the World Federation of Colleges and Polytechnics, which is an association of colleges and polytechnics across the country, not just the country, but across the globe. And we were nominated for various awards.
Part of the service we rendered in these institutions were also to implement the Sustainable Development Goals, which included clean environment, climate change, youth empowerment, and supply of sufficient water.
I'm very happy and proud of his achievement. What I have witnessed as a family man taking care of his family has also extended to the outside.
Glad you're watching the Lunchtime News. We are taking a breather. We'll be back with more, including business and sports. Stay with us.
Why are you here?
Long time no see.
My God. Everyone, I officially announce, as of today, Larry has been promoted to the position of General Manager. Welcome!
How come you're here? Remember I said I would take the interview? So now you know that I'm diviner. And you? How pathetic that two bachelors know each other so well. So, before our relationship gets too awkward, I'm going to leave.
It is Nuremberg at home against Stuttgart, and this is a repeat of the final almost 16 years ago.
VfB Stuttgart's 1-0 win over FC Nuremberg secured them a place in the last four for the first time since reaching the final in 2013.
And this is Enzo Milo to score! The substitute has done it! And he's done it in style!
On the other hand, Eintracht Frankfurt's 2-0 home win over Union Berlin kept the Europa League holders on track for what will be a sixth German Cup win and the first since 2018. Witness this interesting semi-final DFB Pokal match between VfB Stuttgart and Eintracht Frankfurt kicking off at 9:45 p.m. on Wednesday, 3rd of May. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Welcome back. You're watching the Lunchtime News. Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Dr. Alfred Mutua has urged diplomats to disassociate their countries with political leaders who fail to respect democratic outcome in a given nation. Mutua says destruction of property and disruption of people's livelihoods ultimately affects the rights to democracy. Mutua says Kenya will enforce the rule of law and enhance workforce to spur development. He made the remarks this morning when the Canadian High Commissioner to Kenya, Christian Thornley, and Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly paid him a courtesy call at his Upper Hill office.
It is not enough to say that you participate in an election and then you go ahead and fight against democratic governments. So people need to be told that that kind of behavior will not be allowed anywhere in the world. And I want to reiterate that the government of Kenya is fully committed to ensuring and enforcing the rule of law in the country, consistent with the Constitution. And so all we are saying is that we want to have democracy. And it's like any institution. There are good guys and bad guys. There are people who misbehave, there are people who behave properly. When people behave well, they are rewarded. When people misbehave, they are rewarded accordingly or punished accordingly. And we are saying that we are telling the international community, be careful who you associate with some of these players who are fighting democracy. This continent of Africa really needs to have democracy. The things we are talking about, Sudan, DRC, other issues, they all come down to democratic principles. And Kenya has shown that we can have a good democratic government.
I want to reiterate Canada's commitment to deepening our partnership with Kenya. We want to reinforce our diplomatic ties, our economic ties. You were mentioning FIPA. FIPA in Canada is a Foreign Investment Protection Act. Canada will also continue to partner with Kenya in the fight against climate change and hunger. And as part of this commitment, I'm proud to announce $8 million, that's over 8 billion Kenyan shillings, so that Kenya can provide increased access to food, critical healthcare, and safe water for those in need here in the country.
A Ugandan National Army soldier has shot and killed the government minister whom he was guarding. Retired Colonel Charles Ongela, the Deputy Minister for Labour, was shot at his home in the capital Kampala on Tuesday morning. It is not yet clear whether there was an argument between the soldier and his boss. Some eyewitnesses say the soldier walked around the neighborhood shooting in the air. The soldier, who is yet to be officially identified, then shot himself dead minutes later. Reports say a number of people were injured in the incident. Angola had previously served as a Deputy Minister for Defense.
The shooting was done by one of his bodyguards at his residence in Chanja, who allegedly fired several shots at close range and He fled from the scene up to the trading center at Chanja Ring Road, where he entered the saloon and also shot himself dead. That the Honorable Minister died at the scene. We are also trying to establish if there are any other bodyguards who could have been injured. Until we confirm how many more were injured, we shall be able to give you that information.
On to our weekly segment, The Cabinet. He served as Voi legislator for 20 consecutive years between 1969 and 1988 during the one-party system. Over the period, he served in both founding father Mzee Jomo Kenyatta's and his successor Daniel Moi's cabinets. Today on The Cabinet, we focus on Eliud Timothy Mwamunga.
Born on 21st July 1935 in Ishamba at the foot of Taita Hills, Eliud Timothy Mwamunga built himself a reputation as an astute politician, adept at navigating the choppy waters of government. His political career began in 1969 after he contested and won the Voi parliamentary seat. In 1974, he was re-elected and appointed by President Jomo Kenyatta as the Minister for Water Development. During his 2-year stint in the ministry, Mwamunga spearheaded projects that included the construction of the country's first dams, water supply schemes for urban areas, and irrigation schemes that boosted agricultural production. In 1976, Kenyatta switched Mwamunga with Gekonyo Kiano, who had been in charge of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. In 1979 general election, Mwamunga recaptured his Voi parliamentary seat. In spite of an uneasy relationship with Moi due to his links with ministers and businessmen close to Kenyatta, Mwamunga was reappointed to the cabinet as Minister for Information and Broadcasting. In 1983, however, he fell out with President Moi, marking the beginning of his exit from government. In 1988, he was sacked as the Minister for Information and Broadcasting and later dethroned by Adiel Kachila as Voi MP. Many MPs perceived to be anti-Moi lost their seats. As the national purge continued, Mwamunga lost his chairmanship of the Taita Taveta Kanu branch and was later suspended from membership in the branch. In 1992, however, Mwamunga joined Kibaki to launch the Democratic Party after the constitution was changed in 1991 to allow multi-party politics. He was named the DP Coast representative and he played an active role in popularizing the new party. However, the division in the newly formed opposition parties made it difficult for them to win the elections. Mwamunga himself lost in the Voi parliamentary election. He then retired from active politics and retreated to Ishamba to concentrate on business and farming. Mwamunga would then struggle with ill health until his demise on June 9, 2018, at the age of 83. Jacqueline Masharia for The Cabinet.
Thank you for staying with us. Time for Channel 1 Business News. Micro, small and medium enterprises need to explore new markets and expand their value chains to survive the tough economic times. Stanbic Bank Executive Director Paul Lynn Mbaya says initiatives such as capacity building and well-thought expansion plan will help businesses easily access affordable finance and attract investors.
Micro, small and medium enterprises are always on the short end of the stick when it comes to accessing credit from financial institutions. The Central Bank of Kenya says a firm with an annual turnover not exceeding 500,000 shillings and employing 1 to 9 people may not have access to loans beyond 10 million. Even then, this is limited to the manufacturing sector, where farming and service sector MSMEs in the same category cannot access funds above 5 million shillings. Banks are now encouraging such businesses to diversify their markets and show the potential of growth through capacity building as a qualitative means of assessing the potential of growth in order to access more funds from formal channels.
If you start a business, you are in it for the long haul, you should not give up. Always look for opportunities to grow, have a plan. Most of them have explained to us how they've got a 5-year business plan now that they've learned, and continuously skill yourself as an SME. There is a lot of opportunities there. National government and the county government is offering, as well as private sector and development partners in partnerships.
Capacity building is one of them, which we have been carrying out, and we have also worked on the issue of infrastructure, and we believe that this particular training goes a long way in preparing them for access to finances.
Meanwhile, WPP Scan Group has recorded 75 million shillings in profit after tax, translating to an almost 300% year-on-year growth. This comes against the backdrop of reduced client margins stemming from inflationary market pressures. WPP says the firm recorded a 2.2 billion shillings gross profit and an earnings per share growth of 450%. Despite this, the operating costs increased by 3.3%, with a loss after tax of 38 million shillings.
Our net revenue, which is billings less pass-through, came in at 2.2 billion, a decline of 6.7%. In line with that, our operating profit was a loss of 349 million. However, our PBT was positive, 376 million, a growth of 180%, driven by FX gains, other income, and in addition to that, we have delivered a PAT of 75 million.
Ibak Said for Lunchtime News.
To boost labor exports to enhance diaspora remittances and deal with the endemic joblessness in the country. The labor exports will be spearheaded by the National Employment Authority with a target to send 1 million workers abroad. Speaking during a meeting with Canadian Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly, President William Ruto said plans are underway to align the training of youths across various technical and vocational institutions with the Canadian curriculum to respond to the needs of the country's job market.
Kenya is facing an imploding unemployment crisis as more and more people join the crowded job market. Close to 11 million Kenyans are out of jobs, creating a perfect socio-economic storm. Kenya has developed a framework for labor migration to ease the biting job shortage in the country. So far, the government is in talks with various countries around the world to craft a labor relations framework. 2 days ago, the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection inked bilateral labour agreements with 7 countries to assist qualified unemployed Kenyans to secure jobs abroad. Among the agreements signed was between Kenya and Saudi Arabia, where 130,000 opportunities have been identified for qualified Kenyans to tap into. Kenya and Canada are also working on a labour migration framework that will enable more Kenyans to get skilled jobs in a North American country. President William Ruto said Kenya will align the training of health workers at the Kenya Medical Training College and technical and vocational institutions with the Canadian curricula to respond to the needs of the country's job market. He says Kenya's workforce is our greatest resource, well-trained and hardworking, adding that even as we invest in sectors that will create employment in the country, opportunities for Kenyans abroad are another way to lift up our young people. The president spoke at State House in Nairobi when he met Canadian Foreign Minister Miss Melanie Joly. Officials from the two countries will hold a meeting in Canada next month to develop plans to boost bilateral relations between the two countries. Wairi Mujenga for Lunchtime News.
Across the borders, Dangote Cement, Africa's largest cement manufacturer, has reported its first sales decrease in 5 years, citing poor government policies and domestic challenges in Nigeria. According to quarterly financial results released, two groups' overall manufacturing costs increased to 164 billion naira from 154 billion naira during the same time in 2022. This and more in Africa Business Wrap.
In comparison to the same period in 2022, when revenues were at 321.9 billion naira, the company reported a decline of 280.3 billion naira, which represents a 24.6% drop in the first 3 months of 2023, becoming the first giant quarter-over-quarter sales decrease in 5 years. On the strength of expenditure on infrastructure and building, Dangote Cement has consistently produced revenue growth from quarter to quarter and year to year. Since 2019, the first quarter of each year has seen 5 straight quarters of sales growth for Dangote Cement. The decline in volumes has been attributed to domestic problems, among them cash crunch and a difficult election that has slowed down infrastructure spending. Nigeria's central bank implemented policies in the late December with the intention of issuing new naira notes and lowering cash withdrawal thresholds. Uganda has missed out on 600 billion Ugandan shillings in uncollected tax from the export of gold products since July 2021, owing to a dispute with exporters and refiners over levies. This is according to a report by the country's Parliamentary Committee on Finance, Planning and Economic Development. The dispute is traced to Uganda's processed gold and 1% of the value of unprocessed minerals. However, the Parliamentary Committee on Finance, Planning and Economic Development increased the rate to 5% of the value of processed gold and 10% of the value of unprocessed minerals, saying that processed gold was a valuable export. Finally, Egypt is set to receive $734 million from the Japanese government to fund the development of a stretch of Cairo's metro. The deal, which was announced by Egyptian Prime Minister Mustafa Madbly at a business forum of the two countries on Sunday, attended by a delegation led by Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, features low interest rates with long retirement schedules. When completed, it will connect Cairo city center to the satellite city of the 6th October and the nearby Giza Plateau. Trevor Ngendo for Lunchtime News.
Crude oil prices dropped by $1 a barrel after weak economic data from China and expectations of another U.S. interest rate hike outweighed support from OPEC supply cuts that take effect this month. Brent crude fell 1.3% to $78.45 per barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude slid 1.5% to $75.66. Here now are the details of this and other stories making headlines across the globe.
China's manufacturing activity unexpectedly fell in April, the first contraction since December in the Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index. China is expected to be the biggest factor driving oil demand growth this year. The U.S. Federal Reserve is expected to increase interest rates by another 25 basis points. The U.S. dollar rose against a basket of currencies, making oil more expensive for other currency holders. Voluntary output cuts of around 1.16 million barrels per day by members of OPEC Plus take effect from May. Oil prices drew some support from U.S. manufacturing activity, pulling off a 3-year low in April as new orders improved slightly and employment rebounded.
Meanwhile, banking giant HSBC says its profits got a $1.5 billion boost from the purchase of collapsed Silicon Valley Bank's British business. It posted a pre-tax profit of $12.9 billion for the 3 months to the end of March. That is more than 3 times the amount it made for the same time last year. In March, HSBC bought SVB UK for a nominal $1.25 in a deal led by the government and the Bank of England. The bank also got a boost from the reversal of its plan to write off $2.1 billion due to the sale of its French business. As that deal may no longer be completed, HSBC announced its first quarterly payout to shareholders since before the pandemic in 2019 and said it will buy back $2 billion of its shares. Finally, the tourism sector in the United Arab Emirates is expecting to recover as Chinese tourists flock into the country during the 5-day Labor Day holiday. Tourism is one of the key pillars supporting the United Arab Emirates economy, and the countries by the Persian Gulf has been among most popular travel destination choices for Chinese tourists in recent years. The country drew in a total of 1.7 million Chinese tourists in 2019, ranking first among countries in West Asian and North African region. People working in the United Arab Emirates tourism sector believe that the influx of Chinese tourists is significant to the industry's recovery in Dubai and the country. Terry Njenga, Lunchtime News.
Before we get to sports news, let's get back to the local scene. A total of 7,281 petty offenders were released in March in the ongoing prison decongestion program. Principal Secretary, State Department for Correctional Services, Mary Muthoni, notes that alongside this, the department is also exploring alternative dispute resolution mechanism to ensure petty offenders do not end up in jail.
In an update on the status of prisons in the country, Principal Secretary, State Department for Correctional Services, Mary Muthoni, acknowledged that the congestion in most prisons in the country posed safety and security challenges for prison authorities.
We have provided education support to both probationers and inmates, with a total of 255 beneficiaries. This support includes facilitating 100 probationers and 117 inmates in prison to sit for NITA exams to obtain their grade test certification and disbursement of 2.1 million in educational support to 231 probationers in 34 counties.
The PS also revealed that the ministry has put in place mechanism to ensure that released are engaged in community service.
The objective of this initiative is to give these individuals a second chance and help them reintegrate back into their communities.
She called on well-wishers to support the ongoing One Prisoner, One Mattress, One Blanket initiative to improve living conditions for offenders. She further said the National Correctional Services Policy is being reviewed to enhance provision of correctional services. For Lunchtime News, I'm Zainab Said.
In sports, Mathare United has confirmed the appointment of Colin Omondi as head coach until the end of the 2022-2023 season. Popularly known as Korea in the local scene, Omondi has coached Zoya Sugar in the Kenya Premier League and Nairobi Stima in the National Super League (NSL). He has also served as an assistant at Kariobangi Sharks, KCB, Sony Sugar and Posta Rangers, with the latter being his immediate workstation. Omondi takes up from Samuel Koko, who resumes his role as goalkeeping coach. The Slum Boys are currently 16th in the standings with 22 points, 4 adrift of safety with 8 matches left to play. His first task in charge will be against league leaders Gor Mahia this Wednesday at Kasarani Stadium. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta has confirmed that William Saliba will be unavailable when the Gunners take on Chelsea tonight at Emirates Stadium. Meanwhile, Leicester City and Everton had to settle for a draw in a chaotic match at King Power Stadium, which leaves both in deep trouble at the wrong end of the Premier League table.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin opened the scoring goal for Everton in the 15th minute through a penalty kick before the hosts equalized through Kazanga Soyuncu in the 22nd minute. Leicester turned the game around after 33 minutes when Jamie Vardy latched on James